All right, Chicago Hockey Radio, Friday morning, early afternoon. We made it to the end of the week, everybody. Hope everybody is having a lovely weekend, or has a lovely weekend. Justin Lynch, Lee Grossman, Tassos, Kirkos, Raven Gasser here. Hope everybody is having a good day, or a better day than maybe we are. We're going to get Justin's thoughts on last night's loss to the Seattle Kraken. Hawks will play Vancouver tomorrow in Connor Bedard's homecoming. How we feeling, Justin? How we doing today, brother?
Yeah, rough. That was a game that happened last night, and props to you two, by the way, in that post-game show. I'm not sure how you all made that watchable after that performance last night, but y'all did. You did a great job filling in for me, so I appreciate that and allowing me to not have to suffer through that. So thank you very much for that. But in terms of the game, that was not a hockey game last night from the Blackhawks. It wasn't. That was a terrible effort. Just 40 minutes of nothing. Wait till third period to start playing hockey. I mean, how much times have we said that this season? They had more shots on goal in the third period than they had the rest of the game. One goal to show for it from Ryan Donato, who's the only player on this team who could finish for some reason. Just the style of play is just so boring. It's so boring to watch. It's so conservative. There's no offense. There's no creativity. There's no flair. There's no nothing. That was not a watchable product. That's 1,000% a game. If I didn't run B-Hawk memes and I didn't do this pod, I would have turned that shit off after the first period. Like, that was awful. That was straight terrorism that we witnessed last night. And yeah, I hope they have a better performance Saturday, but it is the Canucks, and they're a way better team than the Seattle Kraken, which that's the thing. Going to that game, it's like, this is an even matchup. These are two mid teams. This should be a game the Hawks should, put a solid 60 minutes together and explode, and there was none of that. It was just hard to watch, very hard to watch. Just this constant line juggling every single game. It's like nobody can build chemistry because Bedard, I think I saw half the Blackhawks offense playing on his wing last night. It's not just it's changing every game, it's changing within the game. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, it's a lot of thoughts. It's a rough night overall. Yeah.
How do you guys feel about this? We've obviously talked pretty much after every single game about how we have this problem with slow starts, and then we end up line juggling, and then it ends up looking a little bit better in the third period, and sometimes we're able to outscore opponents, and sometimes we're able to come back in games, but most of the time we are not. How would you guys feel about Luke Richardson setting the lines pregame? We get the tweet from Charlie Roumeliotis and Ben Pope. We know what the starting lineup is. And then Luke Richardson, 5 minutes before puck drop, just shuffles the lines then, and then doesn't let these guys know who they're playing with, and then just sends them out there. Maybe that will lead us to a better start.
Well, that's an idea. I mean, we got to figure out. I got to figure something out with these stars because it's been a constant of this team. Um, are there many teams that do that where they don't release the starting lineup before the game?
No,
Like, is that a thing?
no,
I feel like every team
no.
does that, right? That's just a
It's
formality, right?
it's a horrible idea. But the point is that what is going on right now is clearly not working. There's been no consistency with the lines, and it's one of those situations that, and I talked about this last night. It's so bad because it's almost like in these games, the starts have been so bad. We played so bad for the first two periods that you do almost have to juggle the lines, but it's happening every single game. So these guys are never playing any meaningful amount of time together.
And here's the thing, like you may look at it and say, oh, like these games have been close score-wise, so we're playing more competitive hockey. But it's like, I don't know if I call what I saw last night competitive, right? The score does not tell the entire story when watching these games. And it's like the Hawks had nothing for the majority last night. Okay, you have this solid defensive structure, whatever. It doesn't mean anything if you can't put the puck in the back of the net. Right? I mean, at the end of the day, it is goals that determine what wins these games, and we are not scoring for shit. The last four games, we've scored 5 goals. And really, if you think about it, we've had 1 goal the last 4 games because the only game we didn't went to overtime, which we had the second goal. So 60-minute efforts, we've scored 1 goal the last 4 games. Like, that's just not going to cut it. We got to put the puck in the net. The offense has nothing going right now. Yeah, it's tough to see.
Yeah, and I think even if we scored on a couple of those opportunities that we had in the first period, Bertuzzi had a pretty good look, Bedard had a pretty good look. Even if we scored on those and like won the game by a goal,
Would you have felt good about it?
I wouldn't have felt good about it at all. Like it was still such a poor performance. It's uninspiring. It's not entertaining. Um, and I said it last night. It was like it never felt like we had a chance. To your point about how the score was 2-1. It never felt like we had a chance in that game, and
Yeah, I
that's
was not feeling
nuts.
that. Yeah, I was not feeling a comeback. It's a close game. You should feel that way, but I was not thinking that at all. To Ryan Donato, though, I mean, he seems to be the only guy on this team who takes his opportunities. We need more of that, right? It wasn't a pretty goal. The goals don't have to be pretty. Just put the puck on the net. Stop cycling around looking for the best opportunity. Put the puck on net, and good things happen, right?
Yeah.
We need more of that for sure.
He looks like the only guy that wants to score for this team. Like
Only
he's
guy
the
who's
only
finishing.
guy willing to drive the puck to the net, go to the dirty areas, really grind it down. No one else is doing it. It's just him.
Yeah, no, to your point. I will say this. I've been very critical of Richardson on this podcast, but I think I got to be a bit more critical of KD too. You mentioned in the post-game show, Lee, it's like I think we can maybe question some of this roster construction a little bit because there is maybe a devil's advocate argument where it's like Richardson's working with what he's got, right? I mean, it's a bunch of middle sixers, a bunch of veterans just kind of cobbled together. There's not much of identity with this team. He is trying stuff, right? He is changing the lines. I think too much. I think you got to let it fester a little bit. Let these guys kind of build consistency, chemistry. But maybe there's an argument where it's like he's doing the best of what he's got, and it's like maybe we can question some of the free agent signings and things like that. Just the way this roster is built. It's not really. Bedard doesn't really have that complementary piece. I mean, as much as we love Teuvo Teravainen, maybe we're blinded by nostalgia a little bit, because he was great to start the year, but he hasn't done anything since. He had what, 7 points the first 5 games, and he has like one the last like 12 or something like that. He hasn't done anything. And Kurashev had that OT winner, but otherwise he's done nothing. Taylor Hall, I know he's older, past his prime, coming back from injury. He's done shit. Bertuzzi's been mid. Like, who of these additions have been like solid? I mean, I don't know. It's like Martinez just got back from injury. Brody's been awful. Maroon, I mean, maybe he's a good veteran presence for a guy like Reichel, but otherwise, what has he done? Why is he still in the power play? Why are we still playing this guy in the power play? He doesn't do anything. Why would we take Reichel off the power play? It doesn't make any sense. These decisions, it boggles my mind. It makes me want to pull the hair out of my head, man. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, I kind of realized last night, like my dad asked me like, oh, should we try to dump Patrick Maroon like kind of as early as we can? And I'm like, I don't think you can. I don't know who's gonna want to pick him up. Like
Somebody will pick up Patrick Maroon.
you think still.
Yeah.
He's a playoff guy,
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a bad fourth liner on a bad team.
The Hawks don't have a role for him, and they're not good. And Pat Maroon thrives on good hockey teams, and the Hawks aren't a good hockey team.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't think
you
playoff
saw
teams would have him in their power play, second power play unit in the playoffs either. Probably.
you saw
It's
Bruins
different.
fans last year. He didn't do anything for the Bruins in the playoffs.
The Bruins really didn't do anything for the Bruins in the playoffs outside of Jeremy
No, that's
Swayman.
bad. That's not like okay. So he hasn't done anything for the Bruins. He hasn't done anything for us.
The
You think
Bruins
he's-
barely got by the Maple Leafs and then got steamrolled by Florida.
He is a 3-time Stanley Cup champion. You could say he's
Yeah.
maybe
No,
carried
no, no.
those cups. But
He's had for the role he's played in the NHL. He has had an amazing career. He's an awesome guy.
Can I
He's just-
say something? Oh, I'm gonna find
he's-
this. You first. Sorry. I have something.
He's
else.
just he's on the older side. I really don't think anybody's going to come and make a move for Patrick Maroon. I don't see that happening. And maybe I'll end up being wrong. And if somebody does, I'll be the first to come on the podcast and say I was wrong. But I don't think I'm going to be.
Okay, I have something here. One, I think a Pat Maroon deal is not Pat Maroon for pick. It's Pat Maroon, and Pat Maroon is going to be the second player in a 2-person or 3-person deal to bring back pieces.
yeah,
Whether
Maroon
that's
alone's
draft
not gonna get
capital.
much.
Yeah, Maroon alone. Maroon is the second piece of a deal that you use to sort of sweeten the pot, right?
I don't know if it sweetens anything.
Okay, so here's the other thing. With Connor McDavid scoring his 1,000th point last night. This is from Jason Greger. To date, 55 players can say they helped Connor McDavid get close to 1,000 points by scoring a goal off one of his passes. Okay.
Maroon's one of those guys.
Setting up 192 Draisaitl goals en route to 1,000 points is 4th most in NHL history. Nick Backstrom assisted on 274 of Ovechkin's goals in Backstrom's 1,000 points. So Connor McDavid passed it to 192 Draisaitl goals. Pat Maroon sits 4th on this list of 55 players. It's Draisaitl. Nugent Hopkins has scored 71 goals off McDavid passes. Hyman has scored 67, which is unbelievable. Pat Maroon is at 4th in the 4th spot at 23.
I'm actually not shocked by that because one of those years I know he was on the power play. McDavid was just giving
so
him
it goes
easy
from
tap ins.
64 to 23.
Yeah.
It's still funny though. Like how many people would have guessed that? Yeah, that's wild.
And yeah, I mean, but the thing is
That was like 10 years
this
ago,
is
though.
not Patrick Maroon from 6 years ago.
Or 6 years.
Patrick Maroon in 2024. Like age is a thing that's undeniable. I'm not saying anything about Patrick Maroon's career or his role in the league. It's 2024. He's how old? 36.
Yeah, that sounds right. 2007.
I especially if teams would just watch what he did with Boston last year. I don't know who. Yeah, I don't know if you really get anything out of that.
Can I read some of the other players on this list since it's Friday and we're going to kind of
go
go off
ahead.
the rails here? Well, one on this list, our guy recently, last up on this list at 1 goal. There's a bunch of players at 1. Well, a couple of former Blackhawks and current ones. Andreas Athanasiou.
I saw his legend.
Has scored a goal assisted by Connor McDavid. So has Duncan Keith.
That's right.
He has 1 goal assisted by Connor McDavid. Some other names familiar with Blackhawks fans: Dominic Cahoon, Jujar Kara. This list is crazy. Mike Camilleri is on this list. That's pretty cool. Nail Yakupov has 3 goals assisted by Connor McDavid. That's pretty cool. Benoit Pouliot.
It just shows you how long he's been around now. It's hard to believe he's been in this league since 2015. And yeah, it's a video game stat, man. 1,000 points in 665 games, I believe. He's not even 28 years old yet. I mean, I think the next of the active 1,000 point scores, I saw a stat like the next oldest is like 34 or something. It's like that's just wild to think that. I think 2,000 points. We had I think we briefly mentioned this on one of the earlier pods. 2,000 points, very doable for McDavid.
Yeah, me and Tassos were talking about that on his morning show this morning. He's the 4th fastest to 1,000 points.
In history, right? Yeah.
Yeah, behind Gretzky, Lemieux, and Bossy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was only 3 games off of Bossy.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different generation too. So much harder to score compared to back then. Completely different game.
You look at the list of these guys, it's all 1980 to 1995.
Yeah, there's
If Connor
nobody from
McDavid,
that.
if Connor McDavid was playing in the 1980s, he would have been hung for witchcraft.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
would have
because a bunch of
scored.
plumbers back
He would
then.
have scored 4,000 points if he was playing in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah.
He would literally average 4 points a game.
It's funny.
He'd average more than that.
You watch Gretzky
You're probably
highlights.
right.
At times, it doesn't even look that impressive. Like you see fourth liners doing what he was doing, but it's like he was one of the first, right? He was kind of revolutionary in that sense. Now watching it looks normal to watch because we're so used to that talent. But it's like you look at that back then, it's like nobody was even close to him skill wise. So yeah, you put McDavid out there. That's not even the same league.
Yeah. He would have been skating past electricians out there. But yeah, I mean, the best player we've ever seen, I think the game has ever seen. It's just, I've brought it up before. It'll be interesting to see. It's like, how long can this guy go without winning a Stanley Cup? Like
It's inevitable.
Last year they were close. I mean, this year it feels like the NHL wants it to happen more than anything.
Oh, you know they want to happen. That's for certain.
So I don't know. We'll see.
Speaking of generational talents, I will say this. I haven't wanted to call it. I hate to put this word out there. It pains me to say it. It pains me, but I have to be honest. I think we can finally start to say, yeah, he might be dealing with a sophomore slump right now. And I don't think it's fully on him. I think the team has a lot to do with it, the system, the juggling of the line mates, yada, yada. Yes, he's been unlucky. Yes, he's been snake bitten. He's shooting, 5% right now, which is half of last season. But yeah, he's gone the last 8 games, 20-plus shots without a goal, 3 goals, 17 games. He does have 10 assists, leads the team in points, so he's still playing well. He's producing point per game wise around the same as last season, maybe a little worse, but the team is quote-unquote better, and you would expect progression. It's not really happening right now. I think tomorrow is a big game for him. If it's a hometown game in Vancouver, right? He's got a lot of family there. Like, I don't care what the Hawks do tomorrow. I really don't. I just want to see Bedard play well. I want to see him get on the board. I want to see him get a goal. Like, I feel like he's not really playing with a lot of confidence right now. I saw that in the Seattle game. Like, there have been plenty of games this season he went without a point where I'm like, he's still playing a good game. I generally can't say that after the Seattle game. That may have been his worst of the season. I think he only had 1 shot. He missed the net a few times. It just wasn't playing with a lot of confidence. I just want to see him have a good game tomorrow. I want to see my boy produce and just get his confidence back. Because right now, I feel like there isn't much of that right now, unfortunately.
I wouldn't be too optimistic about a really good performance from him tomorrow. I feel like when you sometimes see homecomings, it's almost too much going on. It's a little overwhelming, especially since he's going in cold. I mean, obviously, we're all hoping that it's kind of like the bump, the jolt that he needs. But I mean, you just saw it with Caleb Williams going back to Washington, and that's where he's from, and that was not the best performance from him. So obviously, hopefully, it's a different story. But I wouldn't be too hopeful about a crazy performance in the homecoming.
I will say, in terms of connecting the Bears and Hawks, there does seem to be a lot of comparables between Bedard and Williams situations right now. They're both playing in very defensive-oriented systems of not much creativity and offense, and it's stifling their games and not able to perform consistently on these teams. They're in kind of similar situations. I see a lot of patterns there for the Bears fans who are also Hawks fans.
Yeah, it sucks as a Chicago sports fan because it's like both of our Golden Boys just look absolutely miserable, and it's frustrating. Like I don't want to see Connor Bedard looking like he's on the verge of tears in the 3rd period. That's not something I want to be seeing. It's not a good look, and that's also not something I want to be paying $20 a month to be seeing.
Blackhawks are bottom 5 in the NHL in shooting percentage right now. They sit 27th in the league at 7.16. Ahead of teams like the Edmonton Oilers currently, the Detroit Red Wings. We also have San Jose and Anaheim in 29 and 31. And dead last in the NHL in shooting percentage right now. You guys have any guesses?
Boston Bruins?
Nope.
Predators?
Yep.
Predators. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's the Nashville Predators. 5.14% is their shooting
Nice.
percentage right now.
That's worse than Bedard's shooting percentage right now.
But it seems like, if the Hawks could even just up that a little bit too, and also, like Justin said, fire more pucks on the net. You can't have a higher percentage if you don't fire a little bit more than 10 shots through 40 minutes every game.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be hitting at least 20 shots a game, right? And there've been plenty of games we haven't even hit that number. It's like, and they're all coming in the third period, as you said, right? I mean, what's with these sleepy 40-man efforts and suddenly figure out the third? It's like it's been a constant of this team. You can't play a 60-man effort. It's like, and that's not really a skill issue, I think. I mean, it is, you could say it, but like effort, any team can have that, right? And at times this team hasn't really shown that. Yeah.
It does feel like every single game we're starting the second period with the shots being 10-3.
Mm-hmm.
It happened again last night. It's like literally always 10-3 or 10-2. It's like,
I mean, for much of that game last night, even the second period, we had like what 4 shots on goal, like halfway through the game. Like, how is that possible? How?
crazy.
It just boggles my mind, dude. Jeez.
I wonder if the front office feels any sort of way about, like, are they just hanging out and being like, oh yeah, going to plan, good, keep it going, guys.
I keep saying it every single show. It's not going to happen probably for a while yet, but I'm going to keep saying it. Call up Frank Nazar. This team needs an offensive spark, something. I mean, yeah, you can make a trade, whatever, but like we have a guy who's killing it in Rockford. I've been watching the games. He looks like he's in a different planet down there. I mean, you tell me that guy can't play in the NHL right now, you're on something. I'm sorry, he absolutely can. Like, let's see him up here, right? Like, come on.
Especially since they haven't really had like any sort of consistency with centering, like nobody, they keep moving guys around. Different guys are playing center on different lines. Throw him at the 2C. Throw him at the 1C.
Yeah, put Betsy on the wing for crying out loud. But yeah, why not? Honestly, do whatever at this point. Do what you got. Honestly, Bedard's kind of been that way. I don't know if you watched the game yesterday. He was hardly taking the face-offs. It doesn't mean, yeah, he's probably still playing the center in terms of his own responsibilities out there, but oftentimes they don't even have him taking the draws because he's like at 30% right now anyway. So, maybe just try it for a game. Why not? I don't know. But yeah, Nazar, we talk about this 2C thing a ton on the show. There's your 2Cs right there. I don't know. I don't get it.
Your 2C is literally tearing it up in Rockford right now.
Yeah.
Like, and your 3C is also tearing it up in Rockford right now. His name is Andreas.
Yeah, exactly. Why was, I don't know. I'm still boggled by that decision, sending him down. It's like, we need offense in this team. Let's send down a guy who actually has that capability. Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you guys care that the Hawks are first in the NHL in block shots?
No.
I mean, the way they play, I'm not surprised because they're stuck in their own zone like for like 75% of the game. So like that's going to happen, right? I mean, I suppose that's a positive, right? Another positive, like the goaltending's actually been good, right? Like Mrazek Sodom's been a good tandem, and we haven't even seen our newest signing, Brossoit. Who knows where he is right now? I don't know if we even know if he's there. Like when he's going to come back, nobody knows. But it's a good problem to have, right? At least the goaltending's keeping us in this games, the defense too. But when you're not scoring, it doesn't really matter, does it? Yeah.
Yeah, and before we move away from it, I do think that we're being fair in our criticism of Kyle Davidson with these moves. It's like you go down the list. At the end of the day, it was just too many. There were too many guys that were
8, including
we keep saying you only have so many roster spots. That was not smart. Like it hasn't worked out. You brought in one too many guys in the forward group. Like Martinez, I understand that. You can be able to shop him at the deadline. That's an okay move. Veteran presence, still pretty good in the league. But then the Brody thing is like, why'd you get Brody?
I'd rather see Korchinski up here making those mistakes than Brody. Yeah, 100%.
And then on the forward grouping, obviously we talk about these guys every single episode, but it's like Smith, Mikheyev, Maroon. Like maybe one or two of those guys, but did you need all three? And Bertuzzi obviously has not been as good as we hoped he would be. That contract looks pretty bad now because it's like we've got him wrapped up for a few more years at like $5.5 million. And I know the cap is moving up, but the cap moving up is not an excuse for bad contracts. Like, you can't just be like, oh, the cap's going to move up. So it's like, no, stop signing bad contracts.
It's a not good habit to get in, right? Because when we are in that position, we're competitive and it actually does matter. We can't be making those same mistakes. I mean, we got to make $4 million in the AHL right now, the Brody one. I mean, I would say of all the signings that day, that one made the least amount of sense to me. I never understood that one. And yeah, I mean, Bertuzzi, hopefully he still gets it together. He still can. I'm still happy about the Tavo one. I know he's been inconsistent, but I still think he's been a good addition. But it's like, I think there's a question. Instead of making like 7, 8 mid additions, why can't we made like 2 or 3 actual like major additions, right? I know we were in on Jake Gensel. It's like, I'm watching this team now. It's like, oh, if only that could have gone through. Because that's a guy who actually you could play Bedard's wing who's actually the same capability of him skill wise.
That would
Which
have
let's
been
be honest,
insane.
there's nobody on this team who's even close to him. Let's be real here about that. And I don't think that's you're finally starting to see some of the negatives of that. Maybe we didn't see it last year because he was playing with the same guys every game. Kershaw was all he could play with. But this year, with a healthy team, it's like constantly changing all the time, so he can't build chemistry and nobody's with him. It's like it's frustrating to watch, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and Tassos has been shouting that from the rooftops that is the move that should have been made, and a move like that still should be made. And I now at this point where
I'm starting to see the vision.
I full-heartedly agree with now. I was a little reserved about it when he first brought it up, but now the way these last few games have played out, I think it's something that you should seriously consider. I think that it'd be important for us to talk about the CHSN thing today.
Yeah,
but
give your update.
Yeah, can't wait. I'm sure you have plenty to say about it.
So this is obviously going to be another frustrating, depressing segment talking about something that's going wrong with the Blackhawks organization.
We have more. Hold on. We have more fun stuff coming later, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, we got the questions and all
Let
that.
everybody know that we have questions and a giveaway and
I wanted to get into one of the fun things right now before we go back that dark tunnel. Like it's like you go underwater and I want to come up for air really quick, something pleasant.
We can't stay down there too long or we're going to drown.
I believe Raven has a picture that I would like for him to throw up on the screen.
I was going to bring that up when we did questions.
Well, we're going to bring it up now because it's too late now.
Lee calling the shots over there.
Yeah, damn. All right.
A few episodes ago, we talked about, I wonder who's going to be the first person to listen to CHR on the plane. And we have news. Our neighborhood listener, Rye Guy, has sent us a photo of him listening to CHR on an airplane. So I can't see it on Zoom, but if Raven could throw that up, that'd be awesome.
I'm sure.
How does it feel?
I'm sure Raven loved. I'm sure Raven loved the heads up of that. Yeah.
CHR.
Oh, we got the picture up. There we go.
Absolute cinema.
CHR has officially joined the Mile High Club.
What a moment! They'll be talking about this in the history books.
I mean, legendary. What an absolute beauty. Thank you so much to him and his wife for securing that image, because we were literally joking about it and they actually made it happen. So that's pretty sick. We really appreciate the support. We talked about it last night a little bit, and we should talk about it every single time we record. We appreciate all the listeners, all the love we get, the reviews, the comments, engagement. It makes things worthwhile because we're talking about a very shitty, depressing team, and you guys make it so much more enjoyable. So we appreciate you guys.
All right,
Shout
and
out
we're gonna do questions right now then. On that note, keep sending in questions. We have a lot of people that have entered the giveaway. A lot of people send in questions for the Friday mailbag on just while they were DMing us for their giveaway. So it does bounce around a little bit, and then we'll get back to the Hawks before we wrap NHL hour, or before heading to NHL hour. But we got a few questions here. Some good stuff. So keep sending them in. We love them. We answer them every Friday, and we appreciate the people that do. All right. So this is from Amanda. 2 questions. First, how easy is it to switch from being a winger to being a center? I've noticed a few guys get bounced around, Donato, Reichel, Kurashev. I'm wondering if this affects the overall success of the game. We'll do these questions one at a time because she asked to.
I would say
it's difficult. It's easier to go from being a center to a winger than being a winger to a center. It depends. There are guys that can, and I think you should try. People in Toronto always clamor for Nylander or Marner to be tried at center, and you look at a guy like Marian Hossa, and you're telling me that guy couldn't have played center. So yeah. I don't know. Right?
I would agree with that. I think it's easier to switch from center to wing because center's just got so much more defensive zone responsibilities. There's an art to face-offs right now. Everybody's got it down. So you switch to center to wing. It's like you kind of you lessen some of the burden of that, right? You kind of get more involved in the offensive zone. You don't have to worry. Not to say you take off in the defensive zone. You can't, but there's less, I guess, some onus on you there. So I would say it's definitely easier from that standpoint to switch that way.
it's more legs, you have to,
Yeah.
be going through the blue paint on both sides of the ice. It's different assignments on, different setups, but anybody could, people can do it. Red Kelly went from defense to center and won Stanley Cups as a Hall. There are people that do it.
Yeah, Dustin Bufflin,
Yeah.
Brent Burns, yeah, and that's defense to offense. That's way trickier. Yeah.
Yeah. Second, do you know where I can find the block shot stat? The commentators have the stat and can use them during games, but I cannot find them anywhere. I track each player's goals, assists, and penalty minutes for each game and would love to have the block shot stats as well. Thanks, guys. Go Hawks.
Then I had that in NHL.
They're on ESPN. They're on ESPN. They're on the box score of ESPN. I believe that's what BS stands for, unless BS stands for something else.
I know BS stands for something, but maybe.
And I've got, so unless it stands for bullshit shots or something, I think that right here, on the box score, I've got it closest right here. BS.
There we go.
Yeah. And you can find like team Money Puck is really good I use Money Puck for a lot of advanced stats, and they have like all the basic stuff there too. That's how I just said earlier that the Hawks lead the NHL in block shot. So, yes, that is how you do that. All right. Thank you, Amanda. All right. So this one's a little different, and there is a Hawks prospect that this actually kind of revolves around that we can spend a few minutes on this. So from Quinn, not a question, but it is kind of something to think about. But I wanted to add to your guys' conversation about the CHL and the NCAA. I agree it will be good for the players and their development, but I worry what it will do to some of these smaller hockey communities, especially in the USHL. I live in Nebraska where hockey is not on the radar, but we somehow have 3 united USHL teams with the Omaha Lancers, the Lincoln Stars, and the Tri-City Storm. These teams do a ton for local hockey community through outreach, exposure, etc. Without them, I don't know if we would have had the opportunity to play at the high school level. I think the new rule could seriously hurt the competition in the USHL, and I worry what that might mean for smaller hockey communities without NCAA schools. Maybe add more Division I schools.
That's it.
It's a great point because this isn't just for hockey. This is like a thing for like all aspects of life. When there's big change in anything, it's going to have ripple effects. In this case, it is likely that it might water down the talent in other leagues and stuff. I don't think I can say I think it'll affect it in this specific way. Maybe.
Oh, Lee, you got to fix the Wi-Fi, brother.
Yeah, connection over there is fizzling out a bit.
Yeah.
Do you
want to pick it up, Justin?
Yeah, I think for me, I see more pros to cons, but I could totally see that point, right? I mean, bringing all these different like teams and players over, it's like it's going to cause some leagues, not just the CHL, but the USHL, to dilute talent a little bit. And that league has really come up the last few years. I mean, you could argue that's the strongest developmental league, after the college ranks in the US right now. So I could see the point he's making. It could hurt some markets, but I don't really have that personal experience that he has to that point. I was actually want to ask a question to you. What was the Hawks prospect or prospects?
Yeah, so I was going to say that. So Jack Pridham,
right,
who the Blackhawks picked 92nd overall, 3rd round in 2024. Jack Pridham, he's a 19-year-old from Stouffville, Ontario. He was playing with the West Kelowna Warriors of the BCHL, had 10 points in 12 games this season. He's a Boston University commit, and he just left his team in the BCHL to go join the Kitchener Rangers of the OHL. So he is the first Hawks prospect that this seems to have impacted in some way, one way or the other. So fitting that this, it is going to hurt smaller communities. I think what needs to happen, I mean, the college hockey thing, I had a discussion with
Babiak.
No, not Babs.
No.
The Coach Tim from NC State. And just talking about, like, he runs a really amazing program at NC State. They're playing outdoor games as an ACHA club team. And I've asked him if the desire is to ever go Division I. There's no college hockey in really the ACC. There's really no college hockey in the South, let alone like the southern half of the East Coast. So I think you could totally do it. Now it's all about money, right? Like this is all like it's hockey. Unfortunately, revolves around money and the dollar a lot of the time.
Oh yeah, ask my parents.
Yeah, and it's yeah. So I know that some of these, but I have also we did have a conversation with Robert Babiak too, who does content, and he was just saying that like kids from Europe now are going to come over and play in the USHL, maybe a bit more. If you lose, if you lose some talent, you're going to make it up in other areas. It's really not going to get that bad. Like you're going to pull some of the best kids that are playing other forms of like junior A hockey around other spots. I think the league that's going to hurt the most is the league that Jack Pridham just left, the BCHL.
Okay.
Just because they've gone rogue and done their own thing and they broke off from Hockey Canada, and they didn't want to like abide by the rules, and so I think that league's going to suffer. But the USHL I think is going to actually gain a bit more, especially if they play for the Memorial Cup. That's going to be a huge deal. Like imagine a team from Nebraska being the junior hockey champion of Canada. That would be kind of awesome. It's already cool we got like Michigan teams doing it, but it's fun.
To that point, yeah, it would make sense that this would affect more like the lower Canadian junior hockey league ranks than the US ones, right? Yeah, that's a good point.
All right. I think I had one more question here. Oh no, it was just somebody asking to talk about, somebody asked us to talk about the NHL front office confidence rankings, how fans felt about every team. And I don't know where the Blackhawks ranked in these rankings from the Athletic. But I don't know that either of us really care.
If I had to guess, it's probably
was probably-
somewhere mid-pack.
Yeah, I would bet it's probably a bit higher. I don't know.
Yeah, I think in terms of the rebuild, maybe where the team is at right now,
Yeah.
might scare some people away, but like just in terms of confidence for the future, the prospect pool, I would think probably top 16, probably 10 to 16, I would guess, but I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. Where they're
How
at.
would you guys rate Kyle Davidson's performance this far out of 10?
I think in terms of long-term vision, I think I still have as much confidence there as I have. I do question some of the drafting, right? I still have
Put it all
some
together,
question
though.
marks.
Put it all together and give us a.
Out of 10,
Yeah.
I'll say 7.5.
I give it a 6, a soft 6.
I'd give it like a 6.7. Because what Justin's point is that, I think he has done a pretty good job drafting and securing draft picks and, developing this prospect pool a little bit, or, building the prospect pool. But
Current
yeah,
structure is
the moves
questionable.
that have been made this past offseason and the start of this year, I think, are very poor.
Yeah, I put more weight on like the drafting, right, the prospect pool than like this current team, right? I think in terms of varying like what the importance. So that's why I rate him higher. The main thing that in terms of drafting, I don't really agree with. I think we're probably on the same page, or maybe not. Is I know it's early days, but I'm maybe passing up Ivan. I don't know about that one, man. We'll see about that works out in the long term, but hopefully Love Chanel works out. But that's the main draft decision where it's like, I don't know about that one. But otherwise, I think we have a great prospect pool, and I think we still have a really bright future. But just in terms of the current now structure of the team, you can definitely question some of it. Yeah.
All right.
I also don't love the way that the Cole Kane situation was handled either. That's the other thing for me. Yeah.
All right. Lee, we're gonna save the CHSN stuff for the NHL hour.
Okay.
And we're gonna. Was there any Ice Hogs thing? No,
No, there's nothing really today. I know they play today, but yeah.
And then I mean, so Kraken game. Anybody want to put do we need to put a bow on that game? Raven does have a clip of Richardson talking about it. Could we just play it since he clipped it up? If you want to go for it, Raven, just to hear what he has to say.
I don't think the first period was terrible. I thought, we got more frustrated in the second period. I think we had, a lack of execution on hitting the net. We had 3 good line rushes in the first where we missed the net, by big margins, which doesn't show up on the shot clock, and it frustrates the team because it basically breaks out the other way. So, I don't know if it was a slow start. It wasn't our best period maybe, but it wasn't our worst, I think. But sometimes, you get frustrated off of that. You don't get execution and shots on the net, and it looks a little bit more lopsided than it does. And I thought the second period we got frustrated with ourselves and we weren't in sync at all. Like, I didn't think we played to the structure of our game, which is slashing and supporting and moving the puck up the ice quickly, so we can have more ozone time to have more offensive chances, draw more penalties, and run the shot clock up and wear the other team down.
Don't you expect a little more life though after 3 days off like that?
Yeah, you do. Like, I think that's it's up to us to come out harder and play harder than we did tonight. I thought the stick battles is more concerning to me than the shot clock. I think the 50-50 battles, they were more hungry than we were. And when you come out with those, you're going to have more shots, and we're going to have less because they have the puck way more.
Yeah. The word frustrating or frustrated coming up 2 or 3 times in that clip is kind of unsettling.
It's telling, right?
Yeah.
I didn't hear what was said. Was he talking about the starts, or what was he saying there?
Just not enough, pressure, just the bad, the frustration starting to take over in the second period. He mentioned a couple of times, and I don't know. I can't. I like the moves he makes, and then I hear him talk about it sometimes, and it just feels like and I know catching a guy like right after you lose a hockey game isn't always the recipe for getting the best quote out of somebody. But yeah, I don't know. Like, you just wish there was more there. Was that the whole clip, Raven?
Dallas game, there was talk about putting the dump-ins, and the goalie was stopping him a lot. It seemed to be happening again more tonight. Is that something to work on, to placement?
Yeah, and I think what happens is when we don't slash and support, we're kind of singular out there. One guy's by himself, and this team tracks hard, so you end up not panicking, but you dump it in at an inopportune time, and it goes right to the goalie. So that was part of the game plan. This guy's an athletic goalie, and he plays the puck well, and especially second period, way too many pucks go to him, and that just negates our forecheck, and there's no ozone time.
Yeah. The Hawks don't have a good forecheck, though. There's no, the back check is all right. It's getting better, I guess. Minus a few of the goals last night, but, the forecheck is non-existent.
Yeah. The dump and chase system is not working. It's like the goalies are picking up behind the net every time and stopping that advance, so they can never get possession in the offensive zone. That's something they got to work on, right? The placement of these dumps.
We're not aggressive when we're defending in the offensive zone at all. And it's like we don't really force any turnovers. I didn't hear the clip at all because I'm on Zoom, obviously. But the thing with Richardson that kind of frustrates me in pretty much every interview I ever see of him,
not owning up to starts and stuff.
It's not just it's kind of like the same problem I had with Jeremy Colleton. It's like the sky will be falling and they'll just be like, oh, it's obviously not ideal, right? But I thought there were things we did well. It's like not acknowledge, you don't have to throw your guys under the bus, but you have to acknowledge how bad they've been. Yeah, in the first and second periods, you have to acknowledge how the line combinations have not worked out. You can't just shrug off this stuff and say it's stuff to work on and I think we can be better. It's like that's just not it. It sounds awful as a fan hearing that because I
feel like we've been hearing that, right? It's been kind of a constant. I feel like it's a lot of listen to what I have. I feel like it's a lot of the same answers in terms of games like this.
Yeah, it's like, are you doing anything about it? Are you screaming at these guys at practice? Because that's there needs to be some sort of urgency here because nothing's changed and you have the same problems and you're not acknowledging them really to the media. So.
All right. Any thoughts on tomorrow against Vancouver before we hit NHL hour?
Say a prayer or something, or if you're not into that thing, something else. Because I'm not feeling very confident for tomorrow's game. I'm sure you guys. Yeah, like I said earlier, I just want to see my Pookie play well. I don't want to see him all frustrated and all that. I want to see him have a good game. I could care less what the result is, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, Vancouver's been struggling at home a little bit lately, so there's an opportunity to have a nice rebound game for yourself here and show that you can start a hockey game better than whatever that was last night, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it can't get worse, right? I mean, surely. I mean, the Hawks have had decent responses after rough games. It's been a kind of a bipolar team, right? So it wouldn't shock me if they actually looked incredible tomorrow. And then revert back to what we saw today, Tuesday.
Yeah. If I'm being honest, and you can sue me for this pessimistic take, but it's for me now, like I think the Seattle game last night, like really, if it wasn't already set in stone for me, like really cemented my view of this team. Like, what does a bounce back game against Vancouver even mean? Like in my mind, this team is not good, and it's not gonna be. It's not like they're magically gonna turn around and we're gonna have like a ton of impressive performances throughout the season. Like
I think a bounce back game is the big guys, like, you know, Connor Bedard playing well, putting 1 or 2, and then having like 2.2 or 3 point game. Tyler Bertuzzi producing, Seth Jones producing, Alex Vlasic, you know, picking up his man in front of the net, like those kinds of things. And that's kind of what a bounce back.
Yeah,
it's
I
not
wanna see
really
the core.
just
Yeah,
Craig
but
Smith.
no, but my point is that happens, and then we play Anaheim on Tuesday. They're left scoreless again, and we lose a disappointing game again. Like,
well, then it's the time to make it. Then it shows that it's time to make a change, because it's not really.
it already is.
Yeah, it is. But
Yeah, we
not,
have to talk about it a lot, right, in this pod, and I feel like it's inevitable.
just
at
because
some
we're the
point.
guys saying it just doesn't mean that, you know, they think it yet.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I think that's
and-
the problem. Is I think they don't, but it is.
But we've been seeing stuff. I mean, not that Friedman's always right, but you know, I don't think he puts those rumors out there for no reason,
No,
right? Yeah,
he does not.
So I would imagine that there's KD's working on something right now. I'd be shocked if he isn't. Then he's not doing his job.
I'm sure he's starting to feel it. All right, we have our giveaway word for the second day of the opportunity of being able to get a bonus entry into the Connor Bedard jersey giveaway that we're doing. That ends at 11:59 Central next Wednesday. So the third code word will be coming up on Monday's podcast. We're gonna hit a quick break, and then we'll be back with NHL Hour. Keep it here. All right, NHL Hour, Chicago Hockey Radio, Lee Grassman, Justin Lynch, Tassos, Kirkos, Raven, Gasser. Still here on a Friday, still kicking. We'll be back for a post-game show tomorrow. Me and Justin will be here. Doing it late after Vancouver against the Hawks. But NHL Hour, Dallas is the headliner. I mean, McDavid's really the headliner. We just had already put that in an episode title. What do you guys want to chat about here?
Yeah, I mean, Dallas, I mean, they've been pumping teams lately, right? I mean, obviously early in the week they pumped Penguins, and then last night pumping the hell out of the Bruins. They've been scoring touchdowns over there, getting 7 goals. Yeah, they're looking dangerous, right? I think we talked about a lot on the show how strongly built that team is, how they look like a cup favorite, maybe the cup favorite in the entire league. And I think the way they're playing now, I mean, yeah, I know the Jets are 15-2, but like that just looks like a playoff team, man. The Stars, there's just not much weaknesses there. And yeah, they're playing some pretty inspired hockey over there.
Yeah, we've talked about it before with this team. Like, they're the model of how to go from a good team to like a retool, good drafting while remaining competitive, passing of the old guard to the new. I mean, you know, you got your Duchesne. Duchesne's been lighting it up for them, but you got your Duchesne, Sagan, Benz, who Jamie Benn got dropped last night by my old neighbor in Gold Coast, Chicago, Nikita Zadorov. So that was pretty cool. Shout out to Nikita. Passed him once, like right by Lakeshore Drive in Gold Coast. Fun fact. But that team has so many young studs, you know, from Hintz to Robertson to Johnston and Stankoven now. It's like, it's truly an embarrassment of riches that they have over there. They're so fucking good, man. And like, it's going to be hard for anyone to beat them this postseason because it's like, by the way, we forgot to mention they have Jake Ottinger too. And it's a bit of a cheat code, honestly, like in Dallas, Texas, with the tax situation in Texas. Like, think about what $8 million means to, you know, a player playing for the Stars versus what $8 million means to a player playing for the Rangers or for Vancouver, or for the Maple Leafs, you know. They've definitely got a nicer setup in that aspect. But yeah, I mean, that's a wagon, and I think we're going to start to see it. They've obviously pumped a couple of bad teams in a row now, Boston and Pittsburgh. They had a few losses, but it was like tough games. It was like what the games in Finland against the Panthers, you know. So it's like that now that team's starting to get their wheels under them. There's no stopping them.
They're definitely the standard at the moment for others to follow. Speaking of Matt Duchesne, did you all see that clip of his kids like watch him score a goal? It was pretty cool.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was so cute.
Man, like that man's winning a life. Wow.
Yeah.
You want to know a cool Matt Duchesne clip that I saw today, actually? Do you remember that goal that he had against the Penguins? The through the legs, and then he
sure
put it in. This was like almost 10 years ago, probably. And then Malkin had one the same game where he did the one touch around the guy and he shimmy shake. That might have been like Varlamov out of his boots at that point for the Avs. And yeah, I don't know. I just saw that highlight today, and the real ones will know. The real ones will know that highlight.
Yeah, I like Duchesne pulling out the heartbreaker, selling the playoffs this past season again when he eliminated the Avalanche, taking notes from the great Patrick Kane. So I always appreciate that.
True. Do you guys want to talk McDavid or Pittsburgh, or I don't know? What do you guys want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, McDavid's definitely a story right now, right? I mean, I think we called it this week, right? We said that could be the game he gets that 1,000th point this week, and he's done that. So he had 4 points the game before, and then got the 1,000th last night. So big for him. I mean, just the age, how young he is. It's incredible what he's managed to do. It's just such a fun player to watch. A generational, maybe the most talented player to ever play. I think not maybe. I think he is the most talented player to ever play the game. I'm not even sure if it's much of a debate at this point anymore, really. Yeah, just inspiring.
Yeah, unless you're arguing with a wall, I think it's pretty clear. Also, it's kind of sick that he did it on a goal, you know, versus like a secondary assist or something.
Yeah, it hits harder, right?
Just score your 1,000th point, I think, is pretty hard-bodied.
And the Oilers going out there with they just won the Stanley Cup, yeah, but I mean it's warranted after a milestone like that.
Cool to see, but you know, with a competitor like that, you know, the personal accolades mean a lot less to him than winning a Stanley Cup. just excited for the postseason.
I remember that clip in the All-Star game where he was asked about the scoring race. He's like, I truthfully do not care. Like, it's more about the winning, right? And I'm sure anything less than a cup this year would be disappointing. But yeah, I'll leave off on that because I get to my class. But it's been good talking to you guys, and I will see you, Tassos, in the post-game show tomorrow. Hopefully more positive than whatever that was last night.
Yeah. Hopefully
Peace
so.
out, dude.
Have a good one.
Do you think there's a player in the league who gets asked dumber, more frustrating questions than Connor McDavid?
Maybe.
Just because I feel like with McDavid, like everyone knows like who he is now. Like everyone knows his personality. Everyone knows that he's just a complete competitor and only wants to win. And everything else is a non-factor. But I feel like he gets asked every time I see an interview with him. It's just like the stupidest shit. It's like I could answer what Connor McDavid is going to say for him because these questions are just so like did it mean a lot to you to get this done here versus the next game and yeah, like scoring race stuff and like you've been playing a little slower. Is there a reason why you're not scoring as many goals? And it's like what do you want him to say to some of these questions? I feel like I feel like okay, fucking Raven. Yeah, I do need a better light. And by the way, I'm not on my mom's.
Is Raven
Wi-Fi.
chirping you in the middle of the podcast?
He is
I love
chirping
that.
me.
Good. All right, yeah, you can't move in the middle of the podcast either, big guy. Pick a spot and stay there.
Buddy, I had to. I fucking got
Well,
6
yeah,
hours.
because your first choice of spot wasn't that great.
Yeah, buddy, I got 6 hours of sleep last night. Pardon me for not being able to do the podcast on my bed like I normally like to do it because it's comfortable.
Okay.
All right. I got 6 hours of sleep. I'm running on fumes. I need to take a nap before I go to work tonight. Get off my wiener, dude.
Oh my gosh. All right. Yeah. Get a nice setup for yourself. Get a nice home setup for yourself, Mr. Podcaster now.
Old World Hockey said, "Don't worry, we can see and hear him." So.
Oh no, I know. We're just chirping him. So thoughts on the weekend? I don't know. What do you got coming up? 5 games tonight. Kind of a nice Sunday. Tomorrow should be good. Oilers, Maple Leafs. We kind of talked about both teams a little bit. Devils, Lightning should be pretty good. Panthers, Jets should be pretty good. What are you thinking about this weekend other than Hawks tomorrow?
Honestly, I think the games tonight look pretty boring. There's not really like we can say Capitals Avalanche, but it's like how far have we fallen that the 9-8 Avalanche versus the overachieving Capitals is like the game of the night. Saturday, nice big slate per usual. Oh man. For me, it's not even like matchups. It's like there's, especially early in the season, it's like there's a certain amount of teams that I actually think are good, and I'll watch them. Like Jets Panthers. I guess goes against what I just said. That's an awesome matchup. And okay, I'd be interested in Oilers Maple Leafs. I take back what I just said. There's a couple games there. Jets Panthers will be awesome. Panthers coming off of a couple losses against the Devils. I think that's kind of embarrassing. I don't know how you lose back-to-back in your own barn. You would assume that they'd come out with a little bit more urgency in that second game. They got scored on the last few seconds of the first period and the last few seconds of the second period. So not great way to be close periods. You don't want to just be letting teams squeak goals in on you that ultimately lose you games. But yeah, I'd say besides those two matchups, nothing really gets my gears pumping. Besides obviously our lovely Chicago Blackhawks and the Vancouver Canucks, who I guess we said we were going to talk about it here, so I guess we should talk about it. The CHSN thing. It is official. It's going to be $19.99 a month for one team between the Blackhawks, the White Sox, and the Bulls. And then it's going to be $30 a month if you want all three teams. But it's like, dude, if you just want to watch the Blackhawks for a year, that's $240. It's like it's a large. If you do the $30 plan with all three teams, that's like a big chunk of your average cable plan, and that's just to watch three teams play. That's just to watch some sports.
Yeah.
It's the prices are so high. It really is going to alienate a lot of fans and a lot of viewers. I don't think it's going to be good for the Blackhawks overall. And I can't believe they don't have anybody over there like thinking, hey, maybe $20 a month is not going to be good for business because you're going to keep so many people from watching the team. And when people are watching the team, do you think they're going to go pay tickets to go to the games? Do you think they're going to go out and buy jerseys? There's no excitement for this team, and now they can't watch them. It's really bad, and it's not just for the Blackhawks organization. It's the entire Chicago sports ecosystem that's going to really be affected by this in a bad way. And it's not just us. It's people who cover the White Sox. It's people who cover the Bulls. And yeah, it's just for a few more nickel and dimes, but they're completely spitting in the face of not just the viewers, not just the average hardworking Chicago viewer, but also people like us who spend our time covering these teams. And it's not good for our business. If there's less people watching the Blackhawks, there's gonna be less people watching CHR.
Yeah, that is true. It is true. We should do our code word giveaway right now. So second giveaway, be sure to make sure you enter this Connor Bedard jersey giveaway. We had a few people just send us the word and not complete the other three steps, which are follow us on Instagram, subscribe to @Chicago Hockey Radio on YouTube, and leave a 5-star rating and review on either our Spotify page or our Apple podcast page. So you can screenshot proof of that to Chicago Hockey Radio on Instagram after you're done. The word of the day is Hossa, as in Marian Hossa, Hossa. Yeah, so that's the word of the day. You can DM us the word Hossa. Yeah, super radio show right now.
Raven didn't do it, so I had to.
This is about as radio as we get right now doing this jersey giveaway. But the word of the day is Hossa, so DM us Hossa, and you will get an extra entry into the giveaway. Maybe we'll do something fun Monday for the last word. Maybe we'll try and come up with a way to get an extra one. I don't know. I'll think on it for the weekend, see if we can come up with anything creative. But send that
maybe
to
I'll
us.
do it in sign language, and then people have to figure it out. They have to decipher the sign language.
Yeah, or maybe Raven will put up a banner or something of a different word too that you got to be watching to. I don't know. We'll come up with something fun. And keep sending us your questions, like we said. And the people that have participated in the giveaway and just also sent kind messages, it's cool. So, all right. Trying to think what else we got here. I mean, I don't know what else is really going on the weekend. This Freddie Anderson injury might be out. Might be a bit longer term than people are thinking. I'm a huge Peter Kochetkov guy. For anybody that listens to the morning show, they know that. I don't know. I think it's time for him to become that guy as a full-time starter in Carolina. And but tough to see Freddie Anderson out. I don't know if you think that impacts the Hurricanes as contenders or not. Or
I honestly have this view of the Hurricanes where it's right now, whatever personnel change happens anywhere, it doesn't really affect how the team's going to perform, honestly. Which is obviously a very simplistic view, and you can push back and be well, no, if you put a minor league hockey player in, it's yeah, obviously, but to a certain level, they play under the same system. They've been doing it together for a few years, and I feel like Rod Brind'Amour's just doing a good job over there. A couple people in the chat talking about maybe seeing Ovi break the record this year and when he's going to do it.
He's going to do it this year.
You did have a fun, what was it? If he continues at this pace, he'll do it in February?
Yeah, he'll do it in middle of February.
Someone said, I reckon Ovi will be 10 shy this season.
I mean, he'd have to slow down the pace quite a bit. I think you throw in a couple hat tricks in there, and he's right there.
Yeah, we'll see. I would love for it to happen this year. I don't know. I feel like last season, maybe it's just because I've been paying a little less attention to the rest of the NHL at the start of this season. I think that's kind of natural for most people to do. But I feel like there was just so many storylines, so much drama last year, and I feel like we haven't had as much of that this season. So I think the OV story could be massive for the sport because I mean that's the type of thing, that's the type of achievement that's going to be talked about on like First Take and ESPN and Sports Center. So I always think that stuff's good for the game.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else here we got. Austin Matthews is going to be out tomorrow again versus the Oilers. And did you see that goalie goal in the OHL last night? The Kings
No, I
prospect
didn't.
Carter George was buried one from 200 feet. It was kind of cool.
Ripped it.
Yeah, ripped it.
What's Matthews' deal?
A lot of people are saying shoulder. Apparently it's not the wrist thing that he had last season and the season before. That this is something a little different, but they haven't really said, and I don't know. Golden Knights also, it's saying here, this is from Sportsnet, original Golden Knight, Braden McNabb sticking around Vegas. 3-year deal, $3 million AAV. He was set to hit UFA this summer. So Braden McNabb hits hard, man.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Before I talk about Braden McNabb, why is it like when a player gets injured, a lot of times teams will be a little hush hush about kind of what the injury is, exactly how severe it is. And I assume that the primary reason for that is because you don't want other teams knowing kind of what your guys are going through.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like you see that so much more in Toronto for some reason, just because it's such a circus up there with the media. But it's like, at what point does like not being open and honest about injuries end up just completely backfiring on you? Like you get people calling players, bitches for not playing when it's like it could be a serious injury and the team's not talking about it. They're kind of keeping it hush hush and being like, oh yeah, we'll see, he's day to day, when at the end of the day, saying day so many times there, but they might not be day to day, like it might be a more serious injury, but they're making it seem like, oh, it's, we'll see. And it just makes players look bad. Like, do you see what I'm saying there? Like, I feel like if I was like a coach of a team, especially with like superstars like the Toronto Maple Leafs have, who have, endured some criticism throughout their career of maybe being a little soft and not showing up in the postseason when it matters. Like, I feel like if Austin Matthews has got something serious with his shoulder that he needs to take some, actual time off for, I'd be like, hey, this guy's shoulder is messed up. Like it hurts him to sneeze. I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, we'll see. It's
I mean, I think most reasonable people know that. Like they know that something's going on. Like it's not, you're not like that's not like the majority of like sane people, is like the people on the internet that are really like railing players for not playing. That's not the.
What was his problem in the postseason?
I don't remember. William Nylander was the one that had the migraines. Yeah.
And we still don't know what Austin Matthews missed playoff hockey games for?
No.
That's a problem for me.
Yeah, but that's a league-wide thing, too. It's a league-wide policy. Like, they don't do that in other sports, but...
Yeah, it's not a policy. It's one of those unwritten rules of the NHL that I think makes it a worse sport.
Yeah.
I don't think that's good for players. I don't think that's good for players' mental, because it's inviting unwarranted, unnecessary criticism.
Yeah, I think guys are going to get criticism anyway. It's more just like the speculation. It's more the speculation and the constant questioning maybe that would get.
You're completely disregarding the whole point that I'm making. Is it true that because they keep some of these injuries hush hush, Austin Matthews, the new captain of your team, miss playoff games and nobody knows why it happens, you don't think that he's going to get extra criticism for that? Like, that's obviously going to happen.
Well, Austin Matthews, one, probably doesn't pay attention to any of that. And two, nobody really criticizes Austin Matthews. It's more other players. Like nobody really says anything to Austin Matthews. So
I think people criticize Austin Matthews.
I don't think that you criticize Austin Matthews. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
where
see
are
a lot
you?
of,
Where are you in the playoffs? Why are you not playing in the playoffs?
Yeah, I don't. I hear that more like that. That was more of like the William Nylander kind of what's going on here. Migraines, is that really something you should be missing Stanley Cup playoff games for? Which the answer is probably.
I think you're completely sidestepping the entire point I'm making by just saying that.
Well, no, the
people are
NHL
gonna
should
criticize
release
him.
the NHL should release injuries, but it's not because these guys face criticism. It's because it's what other leagues do. It provides better reporting. It bugs these guys less because you have guys like us being like, oh, what does this guy have? Is he dealing with this? If Connor Bedard got injured and they just said upper body injury, like we'd be sitting here for an hour on the Hawks hour of the show talking about Connor Bedard's, what is it? Like, is it his back? Is it his shoulder? Is it his wrist? Is it his arm? Is it his head? Does he have a concussion? Does he, is it his
It's
jaw?
stupid.
That's more of like where that becomes, because like I promise you, Austin Matthews is not reading like Instagram comments being like, oh, what
I
are
don't know
they
if
saying
that
about
stuff
me?
is. I don't know if you can even get away from it in Toronto. Like, I refuse to believe that Austin Matthews does not read criticism of himself.
It's
like that's
probably more like on TV. You know what I mean? Like, because it's Canada and it's like headline stuff that like even if you got the TV on mute there and it's like Sportsnet or something like that, there could be a headline that you see that because it's Canada. You're not going to see that stuff in Columbus or Florida.
Point is we hear stories about guys like Matthew Tkachuk who are basically dead, getting helped out of bed by their brother because they have a broken sternum or some crazy bullshit, and then they're still playing in these games. And then you've got guys that aren't playing in games, and then they're not telling you what the injury is. That's not good. I don't think that's good for anybody. I don't think that's good for players' psyche. I don't think it's good. It's not good for the fans. Like, you don't want to, you want to know why, your captain of the team that you pay a lot of money to go see play is not playing. I don't think it's really good for anyone. And I think it's a very one of those bad unwritten rules that hockey has. And we could talk about this all day, that I think there's a few of those that are bad. But I think we've talked about a lot. I don't really have much more for you. If everybody could please like, subscribe, follow our Instagram, Chicago Hockey Radio. Leave us 5 stars on Spotify and podcasts. We really do appreciate that stuff. It helps us so much. It's brick by brick, boys. This team is not going to be this bad. And girls. I just say boys is like, hey guys, I'm not, obviously.
No, I know. I think we have some female listenership. So,
okay. All of our female listeners, we are very inclusive over here, and we really appreciate you just as much as the next. So thank you so much for listening to you two ladies. And yeah, we really do appreciate the feedback and the comments, and the subscribes and the likes. Not only does it help us out, but it feels nice. It feels like this is worthwhile because at the end of the day, we want this to be a community that people want to be a part of, as Blackhawks fans and as NHL fans in general. Because I feel like there's a big open gap in this niche of the Chicago Blackhawks sports ecosystem. Not a lot of people saying the shit that we felt needed to be said. And so that's kind of why we're doing this. So we appreciate all you guys and girls so much.
Should mention too, I want to say number 83 in the United States in hockey podcasts today, and the number 2 Blackhawk show on that chart. So You know, that's all that's all to you guys. So shout out everybody. And yeah, like this is, and we're gonna do some fun stuff. We're gonna do like, the more we push like this, the more we're thinking of doing like, seeing about doing like some small quantity order merch in the new year, and making some really cool, unique, like maybe one of one or one of like 5 or 10 like really cool pieces of stuff that as this grows, you know, could be fun to hang on to. So yeah, we're gonna do like meetups and stuff, and we want to do live shows eventually at some small fun bars for those that are in Chicago or aren't, and you know, might want to have a reason to come out. But yeah, catch a Hawks game, and maybe we'll do a live show. But anything else, Lee?
That's it, my brother. I will see you guys
Monday.
back on Monday personally.
Post game show tomorrow. Enter the Connor Bedard jersey giveaway.